Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be covering complete Unit 3 in DevOps subject. I will explain each and every topic in detail, and whatever the topics that I am going to cover in this video, I will provide all those topics and the timings in description. Before starting this video, please check in description. Guys, I will provide this Unit 3 handwritten notes in description. You can download from description. Guys, I have uploaded complete DevOps subject tutorials. I will provide that link in description. You can watch from there. If you are watching this video for the first time, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Let's get started. First I will explain what is need of source code control. But before starting this, you need to know what is source code control. Guys, we also call this source code control as version control. Source code control is a system that helps you to manage and store your files, particularly the code you write. Guys, source code control is nothing but it is a software. In that software, we can store our files and as well as we can manage our files. That is nothing but we can modify our files, we can update our files, we can delete our files and so on. We can perform various operations on that files. So source code control is nothing but it is a software. In that software, we can store our files and as well as we can manage our files. Mainly the source code control is used by developers in order to store their code. Whenever developer write any code, he will store that code in source code control. Later on, he will perform various operations on that code. In DevOps, we will use two kinds of tools for source code control. They are Git and GitHub. Guys, for example, I am developer. I written code. In DevOps, whenever developer write code, at first he will place that code in Git software. Git is nothing but Git is a software that is present in your system. So whenever developer places that code in Git software, only this developer can access that code. Remaining employees cannot access that code. If all remaining employees want to access this code, then this developer need to send this code to GitHub. So from Git, this developer will send code to GitHub. GitHub is nothing but it is a website. So at first developer will write code and he will send that code to Git. Git is nothing but it is a software that is present in your system. Only this developer can access this code. Remaining employees cannot access this code. So if all remaining employees want to access this code, then you need to place this code from Git to GitHub. GitHub is nothing but it is a cloud-based website. So whenever developer places that code in GitHub, all remaining employees can access that code. And all these employees can perform various operations on that code. This is all about Git and GitHub. Git is a software tool that can be used locally on your computer. You can create a local repository on your computer where you can store and manage your code. Guys, repository is nothing but it is a place where we will store all our files. So in your computer, you can create a local repository and you can store all your files in that repository. GitHub is a web-based platform that allows you to store your Git repositories in the cloud. By writing small lines of commands, you can easily transfer your data from Git to GitHub. Whenever you place your files in GitHub, all remaining employees in your project can access those files. So multiple people can work on the same project, submit changes, review code and manage projects. They can perform various modifications on your files. Guys, there is an American author. His name is Terence McKenna. He passed one statement. That is, he said that everything is a code. But whether you believe that or not, in DevOps almost everything is a code. Almost many parts of work can be described, managed and automated using code. For example, I want to create application. So for that purpose, I need to write code. So in DevOps, after creating application, you need to set up infrastructure. That is nothing but you need to set up servers and as well as network in order to place our application. So in order to automatically configure our server and network, again you need to write code. In DevOps, we will use code in order to automatically configure our servers and networks based on our application. So in DevOps, we will not create documents manually. We will also automate documentation process by writing code. And in order to run our application, we need to set up hardware. Even for this, again we need to use code in order to automate this process. So in order to create application and in order to set up infrastructure, that is nothing but in order to automatically set up servers and networks, we will write code. In order to create documentation, we will use code. And in order to set up hardware, we will use code. So whatever Terence McKenna said is correct. In DevOps, almost everything is a code. Next, I will explain why we need source code control. Guys, the source code control acts as central storage. That is nothing but all our code, scripts and documentations. All are kept in one place. So we can easily find and manage those files. Second one is teamwork. Whenever you place your code in source code control, all developers can work together on that same code. For example, GitHub is example of source code control. So whenever I write code and place that code in GitHub, all remaining employees can work on that same code. For example, this developer modified my code. So immediately GitHub will store those changes. So immediately GitHub will store who made changes, when they made changes, and what changes they made. So by using source code control, teamwork is possible. Developer can work together on same code. The source code control keeps track of changes made by different people. Third one is tracking changes. I already said before, whenever any developer perform changes, every change is saved. It will store who made changes, when they made changes, and what changes they made. Everything is stored. And if there is any problem, then we can go back to early version of code. Fourth one is backup. The source code control acts as backup. For example, if you consider GitHub website, it is cloud-based website. So even if there is any damage to your system, you can easily restore our data because our data is present in cloud. So even if there is any damage to your system, you can easily restore our data because our data is present in cloud-based website. Fifth one is history. If any developer perform modifications on our code, then we can easily see who made changes, when they made changes, and at what time they made changes, and so on. So we can see who made changes and when they made changes. So this helps us to understand why changes were made and finding bugs. So we can easily find errors. And sixth one is consistency. Guys, meaning of consistency is correctness. Repository is nothing but it is a place where our complete data is stored. As all developers are using only one repository, everything will be correct. Seventh one is deployment. Guys, in DevOps everything is automated. So whenever developer perform any modifications on code, automatically testing is performed on that code and then that code is placed in server. So in DevOps this process is automated. So releasing newer versions of software is very easy. So in DevOps source code control is very important because source code control is a place where we will store our entire project. So in source code control, as complete project is present in one place, all employees can easily access and manage that project. Without source code control, managing our project is very difficult. So good source code control is very important for success in DevOps. Next I will explain history of source code management. If you understand history of source code management, then you will get to know why it is important today. These are some of the important points. First one is storing older versions of code. Guys, in olden days, if people want to store their older versions of code, then they used to store them in separate files or archives. This method is very simple and useful. For example, I am developer. I developed code. So I will store this code in separate file and later on I updated this code. So again I will store this updated version in another file. So again I will update and again I will store this code in separate file. Like that people kept older version of their code in separate files. And later on they used centralized source code management with check in and check out. Guys, centralized source code management is nothing but our complete code is stored in one particular location. So only one employee can access that code at a time. So while one employee is accessing that code, remaining employees cannot access that code. For example, this is centralized source code management tool. Total there are 4 developers. Now this developer want to modify this code. Whenever this developer want to modify this code, then he will log this file. If this developer log this file, remaining employees cannot access this file at the same time. For example, now this developer want to access this file. If this developer want to access this file, then this developer must release that lock. Only if this developer release that lock, remaining employees can access that file. This is all about centralized source code management. In some systems, a developer could lock a file to work on it alone. So no other else could change it at the same time. Each file was managed separately. Guys, there are 2 tools. One is RCS, stands for Revision Control System, and another one is SCCS, stands for Source Code Control System. But nowadays no one are using this, these are outdated. After that, later on people used centralized store with merging before committing. Guys, centralized store is nothing but where our complete code is kept in one place. I will give an example. For example, this is centralized store. I am developer. I return code and I will place that code in centralized store. After placing my code, I will perform commit operation. Guys, commit is nothing but saving that code permanently. So once if I perform commit operation, this code is permanently stored in centralized store. For example, now there is another developer. This developer want to update this code. So he will take this code and he will update that code. So now we will merge this code with existing code. After merging this code, he will perform commit operation. That is nothing but now this code is stored permanently in centralized store. Guys, there are two types of tools. They are concurrent version system and as well as subversion system. If you are using these two types of tools, then you need to merge changes before you commit them. If I update any code, then I need to commit that code. Only if you commit that code, then the changes are permanently stored. Concurrent version system is outdated, but subversion is still used by many of the companies. Now at present, most of them are using decentralized source code management. The name itself says decentralized. That means our complete code is not stored in only single place. I will give an example. Guys, centralized means our complete code is present in one single location. So if any employee want to work with that code, then he need to work from here itself. And whereas decentralized means developer will not work in the centralized location. What developer will do is developer will work in his own system. Guys, I will give one simple example of centralized and decentralized. For example, there is a library. If you want to read books, then you will go to library. Similarly, if your friend want to read books, he will go to library. Different people are going to library. So we call this library as centralized. For example, I want to read books. I have my own library in my house. Similarly, my friend want to read books. Then he has his own library in his house. So each person has personal library in his house. So we call it as decentralized. Similarly, if all developers place their code in one single server, then we call it as centralized. Similarly, each developer has full code on their computer and they will perform various operations on that particular code in their system itself and they will communicate each other. We call it as decentralized. Git software is one of the example. Decentralized source code management allows for more flexibility and faster workflow. The most popular tool in this category is Git. Not only Git tool, there are some other tools like Bazaar and Mercurial. Decentralized tools are very powerful, but they can also be risky if you don't use carefully. These are some of the key points. First one is most popular decentralized tool is Git. And second point is by using these decentralized tools, people can work better way and collaborate better. And next point is these decentralized tools are more powerful and flexible. As they are more powerful, if you don't use them properly, then there is high chance for mistakes. In olden days, people used to store their data in files. But at present, people are using decentralized source code management in order to store their files. So by seeing this, you can clearly understand how technology is improving day by day, from storing data in files to storing data in decentralized tools. Next, I will explain roles and code in DevOps. Guys, in DevOps, source code management tools like Git and GitHub are very important because by using these tools, all team members can communicate each other and they can work together smoothly. Guys, in DevOps, there are various kinds of employees use these tools. And the first one is developers. Daily developers will write code and whatever the code that the developers write, they will store that code in Git. So, developers use source code management every day to do their coding work. And next one is operations team. Before placing our software in server, at first we need to configure that server and also we need to configure network. So operations team also depends on source code management in order to set up networks and also in order to configure servers. In order to set up servers and networks, they will write code and that code is stored in Git. And also QA team, that is nothing but testing team also use Git. This QA team will store code related to testing in Git. And in order to automatically perform testing, they will use tools like Selenium and JUnit. So even testing team also use Git in order to store code related to testing. And last role is project management. Guys, these project managers will not use source code management like Git softwares because they don't have any idea when compared to technical team. Only technical team will use source code management tools. Guys, for example, if you want to develop any software, then we need to write steps. In olden days, software employees used to create Word documents or they use emails in order to store steps related to develop software. And they used to store that information in Word files or Gmails in order to write complete steps to develop software. But if you store documentation in Word files or Gmails, then it is very hard to find. This wikis tool is example of source code management. Whenever software employees write documentation, they used to store their documents in wiki software. So if you store documents in wiki software, then it is very easy to find those documents. So these are various roles use source code management softwares like Git in order to store their code. So source code management tools are very important for many roles in DevOps. So developers, operations team, testing team depends on source code management tools in order to smoothly complete their work. Project managers don't have any idea about these tools. So even to store documents, people depends on source code management tools like wikis. So if we store all documents related to company in one place, it is very easy to find those documents. So by using different source code management tools, companies can work better. Next I will explain source code management system and migrations. Guys, there are many source code management systems and they are very important for software development because whenever any developer write code, at first he will store that code in source code management system. And Git software is one of the most popular source code management system. Guys, Git software has an interesting history. This Git software was created by Linus Torvalds. He created this Git software because in olden days, Linux developers used a tool called BitKeeper in order to manage their code. This BitKeeper was a good tool, but whenever its license changed, they cannot use complete features of this BitKeeper anymore. If they want to use complete features of this BitKeeper, they need to pay money. So instead of paying money to this BitKeeper software, Linus Torvalds decided to create a new tool. The tool name is Git. This Git was mainly created in order to manage code written by developers. Whenever developer write any code, at first he will place that code in Git. Guys, when compared to older systems, Git software has one of the major advantage, that is, Git is distributed version control system. That means there is no central server in order to store files. Each developer will work independently by sharing code among themselves. Guys, there are many distributed version control systems available. But among all these distributed version control systems, Git is one of the famous tool. These are benefits of Git software. First one is you can use Git offline. There is no need of internet in order to use this Git software. And there is no need of connecting to server for each and every operation. So Git is very fast. Guys, this Git software is present in your system. So only you can access the software. No others can access that software. So all your files are secure and private. Only if you share that code in GitHub, so all employees can access. So until that, your Git software is private and secure. Guys, for example, you are developing project. Then you can store multiple copies of your project in different locations in Git software. So unexpectedly, if you delete one copy of your file, still remaining copies are available. So if you use Git software, then there is no loss of data. And this Git software is open source. That is nothing but you can download this Git software with free of cost in internet. And services like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, all this supports Git. Guys, not only Git, there are some other distributed version control systems. They are Bazaar and Mercurial. Guys, Git is very complex because if you want to use Git software, then you need to learn Git commands. Even though this Git is complex, it is very fast and efficient. So if you don't know Git commands, if it is hard to understand, then you can also use graphical frontends in order to use Git software. Guys, migrations mean transferring something from one place to another place. And whereas source code management systems migration mean moving data from one source code management system to another source code management system. After working with many source code management systems, there are some situations where you need to transfer your data from one source code management system to another source code management system. Moving data from one source code management system to another can be simple or it can be complicated based on source code management systems like Git, Subversion, Bazaar, etc. For example, if you want to transfer data from Subversion to Git, then it is very easy. But if you want to transfer data from Git to Bazaar, it can be very tough. So depending on systems, moving data from one source code management system to another can be either complicated or it may be simple. And for many projects, keeping history is not necessary because still if needed, you can access old system data. Guys, Git, Subversion, Mercurial, Preforce and Bazaar. All these tools are examples of source code management systems. And I already said before, moving data from Subversion to Git is very easy and there is no loss of data. Still data will be accurate. Guys, next topic is shared authentication. Authentication is nothing but verifying user. I'll give one simple example. For example, I'm user. I want to use Facebook. Only if I enter correct username and correct password, I can access Facebook. What if I enter wrong password? I cannot access Facebook. So authentication is nothing but verifying user, whether this user is correct user or wrong user. If he is correct user, then he can access website. And if he is wrong user, then he cannot access website. In many organizations, there is a central server that handles authentication, which verifies and allows access for users. One common type of central authentication server is an LDAP server, where LDAP stands for Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. Guys, many companies are using LDAP server in order to verify users. That is, in order to check whether this user is right user or wrong user. If he is right user, then this LDAP server will give access to that user, and if he is wrong user, then this LDAP server will not give access to this user. If your organization is already using LDAP server, then it is very easy to manage user authentication. That is nothing but it is very easy to verify users. Even if your company is not using LDAP server, then creating one dummy LDAP server is very easy. We call this dummy LDAP server as test LDAP server. In order to create one dummy LDAP server, you need to install one software in your system. That software name is 389 server, and also you need to install one web application. That web application name is PHP LDAP admin. By installing these two softwares, you can create one dummy LDAP server, and this dummy LDAP server will work same as original LDAP server. Guys, if you want to learn this LDAP server, then at first you need to install one dummy LDAP server in your system by installing these two softwares, and you can see how authentication will work without affecting your main system. And if you want to verify user authentication for different servers, then you need to follow the same process. This is all about shared authentication. Next topic is hosted Git servers. Guys, GitHub website and GitLab website. These both are examples of hosted Git servers. But many companies are not using these hosted Git services like GitHub and GitLab because of some legal reasons and because of some security issues. This GitHub and GitLab, these both are websites that are available in internet. So there is high chance of hacking. That is why many companies will not show data in GitHub and GitLab websites. For example, if you consider government organizations or companies dealing with money, for example, if you consider government, banks and insurance companies, they will not store their code in GitHub or GitLab because GitHub and GitLab are cloud based that are present in internet. So because of some legal reasons and security issues, they will store their code in their own systems. For example, I have a company. I want to store my code in hosted Git servers like GitHub and GitLab. So if you don't have any problem, then storing your code in GitHub or GitLab is very convenient. And you can easily create free account in both GitHub and GitLab. So simply you can create free account and you can see what they offer. And this GitHub and GitLab provides various kinds of features such as web interfaces, documentation wiki, issue tracker, commit and branch visualization, pull request workflow. These are various features offered by both GitHub and GitLab. Guys, this Git is software maintained by Linux. And whereas GitHub is product that belongs to Microsoft and GitLab is product that belongs to GitLab company. For example, I'm developer. I'm developing code in my system. Whenever I develop code, at first I will place my code in Git software. Whenever you place your code in Git software, only you can access that code. Remaining employees cannot access that code. If all remaining employees want to access that code, then you need to place that code in GitHub, where GitHub is cloud-based website. Guys, GitHub and GitLab both are same, but they belong to different companies. Guys, Git software is mainly designed in order to store text files. But if you want to store large size binary files like images, audios, videos in Git software, then your Git software will become slow and it will decrease performance. So if you want to store large binary files like images, audios, videos, then you can use GitHub and GitLab. Guys, there are mainly two tools that we can use in order to handle large size binary files. They are git lfs and git nx. By using these two tools, you can handle large binary files. Git lfs, where lfs stands for large file storage. This git lfs is supported by GitHub and git nx is supported by GitLab. We cannot use this git nx in free version of GitLab. Only you need to pay money and you need to use GitLab Enterprise Edition. Next I will explain different Git server implementations. Guys, whenever you develop any project, at first we will store our project in Git software. From Git software, we will copy our project into various servers like GitHub, GitLab and Bitbucket. From Git, in order to copy our project into various servers, you need to use same Git commands. For example, if you want to copy your project from Git to GitHub, you need to write same Git commands. And similarly, if you want to copy your project from Git to GitLab, you need to write same Git commands. So, if you want to copy your project from Git to various servers, you need to use same Git commands. There is no change. And each server has different features and benefits. And you can also work with all the servers at a time. Git is a system that allows you to work with multiple copies of your project. These copies can be on different servers like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, etc. to see which one is best for you. Each server might have different features or benefits. No matter which server you choose, the way you use Git on your computer will be the same. You need to use same Git commands and tools for different servers. You can work with more than one Git server at the same time. For example, you can show same project in GitHub and as well as in GitLab. And by using Git software, we can connect to different servers like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, etc. This is all about different Git server implementations. Next I will explain what is Docker intermission. Docker is a tool that makes easy to package and run applications. Guys, Docker is nothing but it is a software. By using Docker software, we can easily package our application and run our application. Docker helps us test different Git server implementations like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, etc. without much struggle. Guys, I will give an example. By using Docker software, we can test different Git servers. For example, I am using Docker software. My project is present in GitHub, my project is present in GitLab, and my project is present in Bitbucket. By using Docker software, we can easily connect to these servers and then we can create package and then we can run that project. As Docker packages your application into a container, so your application will run same way on different systems like laptops, desktops, virtual machines, physical servers, etc. And in Docker software, there will be Docker container. So whenever we place our project in container, all users can access that application. For example, one user is using desktop, another one is using laptop, and another one is using physical server, etc. Either it can be any system, our application will work because we are packaging our application and then we are placing that application in container. So whatever system you use, there will not be any problem. Docker containers run independently, so you can test different setups without interfering with others. Guys, in Docker software, there will be multiple containers and in each container, we can place one project. And this container is not dependent on this container. Similarly, this container will not depend on this container. So each container will work independently. Guys, in order to install Docker in Red Hat based systems, you need to use this command dnf install docker-io. And in order to enable Docker, you need to use this command systemctl enable docker. And in order to start Docker software, you need to use this command systemctl start docker. Guys, there is also another tool called Docker Compose. By using this tool, we can run multiple Docker applications together. Next, I will explain what is Gerrit. For example, let us say there are 4 developers who are developing college application. Each developer will write code in his own system and there is GitHub server. In that GitHub server, there is main code base. Main code base is nothing but it is a place where complete project code is stored. Whenever we place code in main code base, automatically this code is tested and then this code is placed in server. But whenever developer write code, they are not going to place complete code directly into GitHub. Before that, whenever developer write code, at first that code is reviewed by senior developers in order to check whether that code is correct or not. Only if that code is correct, then that code is placed in main code base. So whenever developer write code, at first he will send that code into Gerrit software. In that Gerrit software, senior developers will review that code. Only if that code is correct, the changes are reflected into main code base, which is present in GitHub server. So Gerrit is a place where developers will submit their code for review. Gerrit is a tool for reviewing and approving code changes before they are merged into main code base. Whenever any developer makes changes in code, that code changes are reviewed by experienced developer before they are merged into main code base. Gerrit is a platform where developers can submit their code changes for review. This ensures that only well-reviewed and high-quality code modifications are integrated into project. Next I will explain benefits of Gerrit. First one is control who can review and approve changes. Guys, each and every developer will not review code. Only experienced developers will review code. So, by using Gerrit software, we can give only permissions to senior developers. Only they can review code. Remaining employees cannot review code. And next benefit is ensure that only reviewed and approved changes are merged. Only if senior developer accept that code, then that code changes are placed in main code base. Guys, we can run Gerrit by using Docker software. So for that purpose, you need to use this Docker command in order to start Gerrit. Docker run -d-p 8080:8080-p 29418:29418, and here you need to give image file location. This Docker run command is used in order to start new container that will store this Gerrit image, where -d stands for detached mode that will run in background, and -p stands for port number. In this port number, our application will run. And in order to access Gerrit, you need to open any web browser and go to this URL. Next I will explain what is pull request model. The pull request model is a way of merging code changes where developers make changes in their own copies of repository and then they will request to merge changes into main repository. Guys, I will give an example. Guys, for example, I'm developer. For example, in GitHub website, in main branch, there is complete code related to call a website. Now I want to do some modifications in this code. So, as a developer, I will download this complete code and then I will modify that code in my system. And after modifying code, I will send this modified code to repository owner. Directly I cannot place this code inside this main branch. I will send my pull request to repository owner. Only if this repository owner accepts my pull request, then my code will be placed in main branch. Pull request model is a simple process that is widely used, especially in open source projects. Repository owners can review and approve changes before they are merged. If any developer want to place code in main branch in GitHub website, only if this repository owner accept my request, only then my code will be placed in GitHub website. These are benefits of pull request model. First benefit is encouraging collaboration by allowing multiple people to work on the same project. Guys, multiple people can work on the same project in their own system and they will send pull request to repository owner in order to place that code in main branch. Only if that repository owner accept, only then that code will be placed on main branch. And next advantage is my code will be reviewed by repository owner. So only quality code will be placed in GitHub. Next I will explain what is GitLab. GitLab is a platform that helps software teams manage their project from starting to finish. Guys, in GitLab, you can store your project and as well as you can manage your project from starting to till finish of your project. It's like a toolbox that includes everything the developers needs. Guys, GitLab can store Git repositories. Repository is nothing but it is a place where your project is stored. GitLab will store your project and as well as GitLab will manage your project using Git software. Guys, whenever any developer makes changes in GitLab, then GitLab will store who made changes and when they made changes. And multiple people can work with GitLab at the same time without any problem. And next one is continuous integration and continuous deployment. Guys, whenever any developer places code in GitLab, then automatically testing is performed on that code and automatically that code is placed in server. And third one is code reviews. Guys, by using GitLab, we can also review code. That is nothing but we can check whether code is correct or wrong. And next one is issue tracking. Guys, for example, if there are any bugs or if any task is pending, then automatically GitLab will give notifications. And next one is wiki and documentation. Guys, by using GitLab, we can store documents in separate location and also we can share the documents. And sixth one is security. Guys, GitLab is very secure. No one can hack GitLab. And next one is integration with other tools. Guys, we can also integrate GitLab with other tools like monitoring tools, testing tools, deployment tools and so on.